All righty. Thank you, Dr. Green. Then he went up to the big building down. So he was our boss again. That's okay. Let's see. Let's do a couple more. Okay, we'll do that. Bill, one more time. One or two. Two. We got a long way to go. We got a whole table full of those things over there. There we go. Okay, one more time. 358 172. There we go. Student council is going to deliver that for you. And 358 021. All right, right there in front. See you. Okay, good. Thank you very much. And now I'm going to get this microphone real quick, so she doesn't have to walk up here. Ms. Maggard, we're going to have you do the top. I'll bring it to you, or Greg will bring it to you. That way. Maybe she'll talk fast. Okay. We were partners in crime for many years, weren't we, Linda?
Yes, we were.
Yes.
I've been asked to make much of the things that I was wanting to say have already been said, so I'll try to leave them out of my report because, you know, you only can hear something so many times. But I've been asked to talk about some of the highlights of the 70s, 80s, and 90s at Kickapoo. When I came, the school was 4 years old, the newest high school in the city. Every faculty, student, and parents were working to make it the best it could be. Mr. Wilkerson, our principal at the time, made sure we were going the direction he thought we should be by supporting all of us, and he really created what he called the Kickapoo family, and that's been in evidence today. 1978 was a good year for me because the district started the Liberty Law class. It was recommended for seniors when it started, and it was to replace the 9th grade civics class. This was great because the 26th Amendment to the Constitution had been passed, giving 18-year-olds the right to vote. And so one of the main objectives of the class was to encourage participating citizens when they graduated, and with Mrs. Freeman's help, we registered all those 18-year-olds to vote. Kim Crosby was also appointed named the American Junior Miss for the United States. And she went on the Johnny Carson show and was asked about the history of Kickapoo and where did the school get the name Kickapoo. And so she gave a very good history lesson of the naming of the school. And then talk about being nervous. Can't even function. Sorry. And I also would like to apologize for some of the groups and the clubs that I have not included in my report. The 80s saw the band invited to march in the Washington, D.C. parade, Macy's Thanksgiving, and the Rose Bowl parades, representing the state of Missouri. 1983, and I was skipped about the Blue Ribbon award that we received. The choir was invited to perform at different functions, earning ones in all the state competition. The drama department was already performing the Broadway musical plays, and those gave many of our students opportunities for professional careers. the speech and debate group. They were going on across the state, debating, and then there are sports teams, and they were excelling in everything they did, making school Kickapoo the team to beat. The coaches all emphasized sportsmanship, which they taught the kids to be good sports, winning or losing. And that also got many sportsmanship trophies for the school. School spirit promoted by the cheerleaders. Mr. Creepy talked about that. And I think from looking at the bleachers and things when the school performed, that is still alive and well. And also in the 80s, the Youth and Government Club was started, and we took students to Jefferson City, and they could sit in the seats of the representatives and senators. They wrote bills, they debated them, and Springfield provided opportunity for many of our kids who have gone on to be lawyers, mock trial opportunities, and then in the early, and then I forgot Mr. Lattis, who was invited to start the media program, and they did the work of what the press does today, like interviewing the speakers and all this and all that. And then the 90s, the Kickapoo was invited to join the Look Up program in Washington, D.C., and students were invited for a week to learn about federal government. And then they met with the representatives, senators, and attended committee hearings and so on and so forth. And I'll just say that it's been a real privilege for me to have been a teacher at Kickapoo for 25 years and to have seen the school continue to grow and improve and be the best school in the district. The year 2000 brought retirement for me, and it was sad to go, but really sad to go because I knew I'd miss the faculty and the students that I worked with, but in my world, it was time for me to go.
Many long trips to Jeff City with that lady. Should I tell them about the tiger? Oh, never mind. Okay. Yeah, youth and government was awesome. We had a great time. And she raised all three of my kids in her department. And one of them was the governor of the state youth government. The other was the lieutenant governor, so it was pretty good. Did good. Sports is always a big thing at Kickapoo High School. As you came to the game last night, you should be very proud. They did great. And there was a guy who was around a long time ago, who's still around today, but he wants to say a few words, and he's one of the newest members of the Sports Hall of Fame. So Scotty, all right, Scott Loveland, ladies and gentlemen. He can still run.
Well, I hustled up here today because many of the inductees today expected me to ride everywhere I went. So I figured if I didn't do that, I might end up in the football field out there running sprints or something. Also, my teammates back here have me on the clock. So we're going to get this done real quickly. I didn't know I was going to speak today. I came as a spectator, but when Mrs. Freeman says you're speaking, you're speaking. So I'm here. Man, have I had a great week. I mean, a tremendous week. I was recognized by the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame this week for my football career here and in college, and then some fast-pitch softball that myself and several of my classmates partook in back in the day. What an honor, just incredible. I was fortunate enough to speak to the Chiefs football team at their pregame meal last night, which was quite an honor. Got to see the Chiefs win last night. Certainly I get to speak to you all today, which is quite an honor. And tonight I'm going to the class of 1980s 40-year reunion to spend time with some of my elderly friends. Trying to come up with some quick things to visit about here. When I walk in this building, I get this sense of a warm blanket being over me. The nurturing, the compassion, the leadership of the faculty, staff, and students at my time here at Kickapoo gave me a confidence to go out in the world and do some things in business I never knew I could do, to do some things athletically that I never thought I could do. In my speech at the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame this week, I talked about my time here at Kickapoo being around the most unselfish group that I'd ever been around, and I truly mean that, from coaches to faculty to staff to the players. Everyone was in it for the group. We won a lot of football games, we won a lot of basketball games, and nobody was worried about their stats. They were worried about the stat at the end of the game, which was a win or loss. You just don't find that in society anymore, and I'm so proud of that group. So I wanted to share that. In closing, I thought I would tell you a little bit about an anecdote when I was speaking to the young men in the locker room. You know, I'm still excited about Kickapoo. I'm still excited about Kickapoo football. My competitive juices got to flowing. I was telling them about, you know, you're going to remember this when you're 58 years old. You're going to, you know, these are your friends for a lifetime. You know, Kickapoo's a special family, and you're always going to be that. And then a wave of honesty came over me, and I had to say, and I have a son who's a sophomore at Glendale, but I can guarantee you, you'll never see me in those ugly-ass colors ever in my life. The reaction was very similar. So thank you for this. Kickapoo still holds a very special place in my heart. I love my kids. They're in Glendale, but they'll never be in a situation like Kickapoo. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Have you figured out we're going chronologically yet? Next up is our first female principal. How about that? Decoy.
I want to thank God, but she did not tell me I had to speak. So this is strictly from my heart. I would like to thank all the committee for planning this. It's absolutely been wonderful coming back after 30 years. I'd like to thank Bud Reedy, because I remember when he called me to his office and offered me the principalship at Kickapoo High School. And I remember saying, I just don't know if I could do that. My son was in junior high. I was already really busy, and I said, how do you do it? You have 2 kids, about similar age. And so he gave me a little secret on how you get that done. So I thought about that, accepted the job, never was sorry that I did it, except I just stayed 2 years. And that was the toughest decision of my life. I was planting tulips with the cabinet kids where we're sitting, and Donna got a hold of me and said that the human resources guy was there to meet with me. Now this was a guy, I did not know him, from Columbia. And we had 19 student teachers that spring, so I finished what I was doing, and I met him. I said, well, you want to walk around the school? Now I think he's there going to talk about student teachers I had. So we get back to the office, and I said, well, what content areas do you need? He said, well, that's what we talked to you about. He said, we have a principal who's been there for 26 years, we'd like to talk to you about being principal at Columbia Hickman. Completely caught me off guard. I was not looking for a job, did not apply for a job. I guess I can say that here. My gut reaction was, after I kind of gathered myself, why in the hell would I want to leave here? You already saw what we have here. And so we visited for a while. He tried his best. I sent him on his way. Said, no way, my son's going to be over here with me next year. Well, he kept calling. He kept calling. After about the 5th call, I was talking to some of my other principal friends in the district. They said, Dee, you're crazy if you don't go up there and at least talk to them. And so I made my notes, finally agreed to go up there. But we had the Founders Day banquet at Kickapoo that night, so I had to drive back hurriedly. So went in and met with the students, as I called them, all big students. And then the superintendent, did not know the superintendent wanted to talk to me. And the reputation of Kickapoo, as you know, is across the nation. And so their main point is trying to get me to move me away from Kickapoo was to come there to create the sense of family and the sense of community that you guys already have here. I had observed it, I had lived it, and so Dr. Thompson was very shrewd, I think, how he kind of worded that and moved me away and wanting me to create there. Hickman only had one little tiny little parent booster club. The school was exactly the same size as Kickapoo. There was not a lot of parent involvement encouraged there. There was no memories assembly. I love the memories assembly at Kickapoo. There were just so many things that we had here that I just took for granted. But then they wanted me to come there to help create that. A long story, the toughest decision I ever made. But in 1997, we also got to go to Washington, D.C. and go through what I talked about. And I have to think a lot of that started with the roots here at Kickapoo, because we implemented so many things that you guys had already had here, involved the parents. When I left there, we had booster clubs all over the place, all kinds of student activities, all kinds of assemblies. They were afraid to have assemblies there. When I was there, and I finally I just told my administrative staff, I said, I'm so sorry, but I said, you know, I may be here just a year, but I can't do this if we don't have pep assemblies, you know, the sense of community. I said, I will not survive. Well, they just didn't know. You don't know what kids are going to do. You don't know what kids are going to do. I said, they're kids, they're teenagers. What are you going to do? I said, I'll assume full responsibility. They don't talk to the superintendent about it. I said, all the blame on me if it fails. Well, guess what? It soared, and I feel very positive about that. But none of that would have happened if I had not had my 2 years experience here. I want to thank all of you. I've seen so many of my former colleagues, faculty, counselor. I'm so glad I got to be here. I did not even know who the recipients were before I arrived, so I've been thrilled to see some of my former colleagues. So honored today. Again, thank you, Donna. Thank you, Craig, for planning this. It's meant so much to me to come back home where I started planting tulips, where we're sitting today. So it didn't even look the same to me. Again, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. She picked 4 more winners. 4 more winners. I told her to do 4 at a time. Here we go. Student council, you ready? Okay, 358029. 358029. Do I see a hand? Oh, there we go. Okay. Kevin Byrne. Oh, give him a good one. A special industry, Kevin. Okay, the next number. 358, I bet. Yep. 358128. 358128. As the glasses go up. Don't see a hand? Not mine. Anybody else? 358-128, okay, we'll send that over. How about 358-125? 358-125. Oh, all right, Paula. Make sure they get the matching ones, okay. Next number, 358-199. 358-199. Carol, all right, Carol, way to go. Take it back. Okay. All right. So many students that go through the Kickapoo process, for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason they decide to be teachers. We tried to convince them not to be, and to see really how hard it really was, but they just wouldn't listen. And I'm going to introduce one to you now that is a pretty darn good, nice guy. He just retired, which is kind of bad because when you have an old student retire, you really feel old. So I'd like to introduce our just passed drama teacher, Michael Butcher.
Well, it's an honor to be able to speak to you all. A lot of the former teachers that I had, and some of you that I didn't have as teachers, that you still knew me. Even though I didn't have you in class, you made it your goal to get to know students just by being around in the hallway. Miss Roden, I remember, was very inspirational to me, but I never took home back. But the other glory of being a student here was being inspired by my teachers, and then becoming a teacher, and then getting to come back here and working with many of those teachers before they retired. So many of you that are here today, and many of you that were recognized, some of you may not even remember me from high school, but it was a true honor to work with you, to be your student. The thing about Kickapoo that is really unique and special, I think, is all that it has to offer. It's so diverse in everything that it offers students to do. When I was in school, I was involved in theater, and choir, and key club, and I played football, and I ran track. I did all those things, and all my coaches, all my sponsors were supportive of all of those things that I did. And I had great relationships with all of them. And they came to all the different events that happened and supported each other in everything that we did. And I think that's a real strength of Kickapoo. And then those of you that were honored today, and those of you that were honored in the past, you helped lay the groundwork for that. And you helped lay the reputation that Kickapoo has as being a great school and a great community. And that carries down the line. And I'm not the only teacher that has been a former student at Kickapoo, that has taught at Kickapoo. There's a number of us over the years. And I think there's a lot of pride in knowing that the tradition here, and I wasn't even looking for a job to get here. It was like my dream job. And I guess Sandra House decided to retire, and McGinnis was like, talking to Tony, said, what are we going to do? We need a drama teacher. And Tony just, for some reason, I don't know why, I popped into his head. He's like, Michael Butcher, and the rest was history there. I spent 22 years here, and it was a dream. I was in a good situation. I was happy where I was at, but to come back to Kickapoo was the epitome of my career, and there wasn't a day that I had here that I didn't enjoy being here. Yeah, there were ups and downs. As a teacher, there always are, but there was never a day that I didn't look forward to coming to school, to work. And I loved it. It was amazing, it was great, and it's awesome to try to be that inspiration that many of you were to me. And I just want to thank you for that. And then Dave Schmitz came along, and he had a dream to do this and to have a new theater and put together a plan for that, got that started, and we have an amazing performing arts center now that I got the opportunity to work in. It is the best facility in all of Southwest Missouri. It's amazing. I like to attribute a lot of that to the students and the work that they've done here in the past, all the successful artists that we've had. Bobby's been mentioned several times. He likes to go by Sterling now, but he told me there's something in the water at Kickapoo. I don't know why we have so many great performers, but Bobby said there's something in the water. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. Those of you that were in the beginning of all this in the early years, you're the ones that really formed the foundation here. And I thank you so much for all that you've done for me, the drive that you gave me. I was just an average Joe, and but you taught me to give my best, always give my best, work hard, never give up, and be responsible and be a good role model. And that's what I've tried to be to my students, and look where I got to have my dream job. It really was, and I thank you so much for that. Thank you, everyone.
Something in, whoa. Hello? I think we ran out of battery. Let's get the other.
It's only been 3 hours.
Or did we lost the system?
Oh, there we go. Okay. Always have a backup. What's in the water, Bobby Macer? Kickapoo joins, of course. All right. Our next speaker, probably the biggest Chiefs fan in the history of Kansas City. So please welcome our next principal, Ms. Pam McGinnis.
Thank you, Tony. You know, there are specific times in our life that we remember exactly where we were and what happened on those days. In my life, those would be like the assassination of JFK, first walk on the moon, 9/11. For me, I can add one additional list to that, and that's the day that I found out that I was going to be principal of Kickapoo High School. It was around the end of June, and my entire family, you need to do something about this, Tony. My entire family.
I'm retired.
Oh, okay. All 12 of us were vacationing at my cabin at Table Rock Lake. And I was actually out on my wave runner, doing donuts and acting like a stupid idiot, when I looked over towards the dock and I saw my family waving at me, like, come in here, you know. I'm thinking they just want my wave runner. When I got there, I was told I was to call by Greedy. My immediate thought was, oh, it's June, what did I do, you know? But I went up to the cabin, called Dr. Greedy, and he told me that could I come to Springfield as soon as possible to interview for the Kickapoo principalship. I said, well, of course. I just need a couple of hours. Didn't think he wanted me to come there in my swimsuit, and I'll be there. I was so excited. I was going to have the opportunity, just as like Michael just said, I was going to have the opportunity to apply for an interview for my dream job. I told my family, see you later, and headed to Springfield. I had the interview, and then I drove back to the lake. The next day I got the call from Dr. Greeby congratulating me on becoming the next principal of Kickapoo. As you might imagine, my family celebrated like crazy. So I want to thank Dr. Greeby for having the confidence in me to allow me to become the principal of this awesome school. I knew the job would be hard, very hard, because I was going to a school that was already excellent. And now I had to make sure that I didn't do anything to cause it to get worse by any means and improve in all areas that I could. Schools like Kickapoo are only excellent because of 3 sets of people: students, staff, and parents. I was so lucky when I got here. I had a staff that was beyond excellent. Every single person who got the Hall of Fame today, with the exception of Mr. Wilkerson, was on my staff at Kickapoo. So you can imagine what kind of staff I had. But it was not just the teachers, the secretaries, the custodians, the cafeteria workers, security officers, counselors, assistant principals. They all worked together to make this place a fine, well-oiled machine. All of my secretaries were excellent, but as we've heard her name many times today, I have to say a huge thank you to Donna Freeman and Teresa Talent. Donna really could have run the school with all the knowledge she had at Kickapoo. I was just fortunate to have her as a secretary. I would show up to work on a specific day, and I'd walk into my office and lay on my desk with some reports or memos that needed to go out that day or real soon. Did I remember that? No, but Donna didn't. She kept me in line. They were right there like, Pam, you need to get this done. Okay, gotcha. Teresa's desk was right outside my office. Sometimes I had a meeting in my office or a phone call and things just didn't go so well. So I would walk out of my office and mumble something grumpy, and Teresa would just look up from her desk, stare at me right in the face, and say with a complete straight face, well, you wanted this job. Okay, didn't get much sympathy there by any means, but it was always good because it made me laugh and no longer was I upset at anything. With the exception of just one, the parents of the Kickapoo students were awesome. They were very supportive of the school, all of the extracurricular activities, and most importantly, they were supportive of their children. If I needed anything, all I had to do was pick up the phone, contact them, and get right on it. Just as an example, when we won the Blue Ribbon Award, I needed to feed cake and drinks to 2,000 people. So I just called the head of the PTA and said, I need to feed food and drinks to 2,000 people. Don't worry about it, Pam. Tell me what day you want it. We'll have it all taken care of. And they did. And they did that for just about anything that we needed here. Not all schools operate like that, believe me. The most important group were the students. Wow. When I got here and started looking at the academic level of this student body, I was amazed. There were so many gifted students academically, but also so many gifted students in the extracurricular activities. Going to a musical at KHS was like watching a Broadway play. At least I thought so. All right. Haven't been to a lot of Broadway plays, but they couldn't be any better than that. All right. Going to a choir concert was unbelievable. What voices. Attending athletic events was so much fun because most of the time we were on the winning end. And I definitely cannot leave out the debaters. It became quite apparent to me early on in my time here that if the student body really wanted me to agree to allow them to do something that we'd never done before, they always made an appointment to come and see me, and they always brought in their best debater. Smart, very smart. Seldom did I ever win any of those arguments. All right, no, not gonna happen. My 11 years here were some of the best years of my life, and definitely they were the best years of my education career. It truly was a dream job. That is not to say that it didn't come with lots of problems and lots of stress. Remember at the beginning I told you I was riding my wave winner when I got the call to come and interview? Well, my stress reliever was to hit the lakes on the weekends and ride that wave runner so hard and solve so many of the problems by slamming that wave runner on those waves and shouting, now just take that. It worked really well because by Monday morning I was ready for another great week. This is one awesome school, and you've heard all about it today, and anybody who gets up here and talks about it is going to say the same thing over and over again. It is a dream job to be able to be the principal here. It's a dream to be a teacher here, secretary, whatever, and it's a dream to have your students here. And Mr. Loveland, you need to get your kids transferred over to Kickapoo as soon as you can. All right. Thank you very much.
Trying to find mine.
We'll see. All right, she picked 4 more numbers. Here we go. 358005. 35. Oh, I see it. Looks like Judy. Student council, Camp, Katie, Mrs. Askins, as you remember.
Next number, 358-174. Oh, way in the back there. Okay, we're good. Got that spied out, all righty. 358-131. 131. Oh, there we go. Got it right. Okay, we're ready. 358-006. There we go. Is that Ellen? Yes. Okay. We got it. That's the next four. Next in line. Guess who's next? Our next principal was Doug Block. Where are you? Oh, there you are over there. Okay. I knew I had to do it.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Well, it's been a long time since I've had the pleasure of speaking to people at Kickapoo High School. Kickapoo's never been far from my heart. Every time Friday night sports comes on, I'm listening to Kickapoo win today. Darn it, they didn't. Or, yeah, they did. It just makes me feel good. But I'm going to move today at the number of people who have been here, and the old faces, the old friends that I've been able to reconnect with. Kickapoo High School was a special place from the very first day I got here in 1980. August 1980, I started working here. Bud Greavy came at that same time, and he hired me, and I came along from Parkview High School with him. And I was able to connect with a lot of teachers. In fact, all of the teachers that have been inducted both this year and previously, I was able to work with. Mr. Wilkerson, I did not have the privilege, but everybody else I worked with as a teacher to begin with. And then I became a counselor. And then I did my 6 years of purgatory when I went to middle school. And then I was fortunate, and Pam McGinnis hired me back to come back here as principal of Kickapoo High School. What an honor that was, and what an honor it still is. I think of all the teachers, and think of all the things we accomplished and tried to accomplish, and you try to make a difference when you're the principal, and you're trying to get out of the way when you're better off just not saying anything. But then you're expected to lead people in a certain way. And so we tried to do some things. We did what was called a professional learning communities. And irregardless of what that was, the proud part was when we put things together and when we tried to move forward, the staff moved forward. The staff got together. The staff had extra meetings. They devoted extra time. They developed some plans. They developed some targets. And then they moved as a group to try to make those things happen. Well, that, as Pam said, that doesn't happen everywhere. And it doesn't happen as easy as it did here. So the staff is phenomenal. The people who have been inducted, I could have picked their names out. You guys don't get a committee. I could have just picked them all out and told you who they would have been. And there's a few more names I've got in mind, but what a great group of people. But the students, what a neat group of students we have. It's always about them eventually, isn't it? And, we've got talented students. We've got students who achieve at high levels in whatever the activity, whether it's sports or academics or speech or all these other things. They always do well. And then we have students who don't achieve always so well. And what about them? What we tried to do is to answer the question, well, what do you do when the kid isn't successful? What do you do for him? And we tried to target that. But one of the neat things that I had the privilege happen several times after I retired, and that's when some of those outlaw kids, the ones who weren't so successful, actually, Tony students. I say that as a compliment because Tony would take those kids. The kids that weren't always successful, he would try to work with them. And there's a lot of other teachers that would do the same thing. But they would come up to me, And they'd say, they just wanted me to know, I'm doing good. I'm successful. Be proud. And I was always proud for them and for me and for all the students and all of the teachers that had their hand in the pie. And that was all of them that were currently at Kickapoo and those that had been there before. Those who set the groundwork, like Mr. Wilkerson and all the people who did that. And those that followed. So, what a wonderful place. I have 4 daughters who graduated from Kickapoo. I have 4 grandchildren that have or will graduate from Kickapoo, maybe a few more on the way, who knows yet. And this has always been home to me. I started in 1980, I retired in 2006, so I had a 26-year connection there, minus my 6 years of purgatory. And I feel a very strong attachment to Kickapoo High School because I still have students, I still have grandchildren who are attending today. And what a wonderful place. What a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Go get it. Okay.
Yeah, they all got to my class. That's okay. Some of them are here today, too. Successes. 358-004. 358-004. Where did I see? Oh, there he is. Okay. Oh, Coach Askins. All right. You guys ready? Okay. I kind of jumped the gun. They weren't ready yet. 358-186. 358-186. 186, going. It's not mine, mine's older than that. Okay, let's get that one. How about 358-098? 098, the last 3 numbers. They left town too. Okay, how about 358-211? Oh, there we go. Got it all spied out. All right, we're good. So many of us had kids that grew up with us, and the next lady who's going to give a speech here is one that started at a very early age. She's run through the ringer, and this is going to be your last year involved, not involved with Springfield Public Schools. This is going to be your last year on the payroll. Sarah Freeman Odom. But the retirement side of that payroll is really nice.
I think the stack of tension headache medicine that doesn't have to be by my bedside and in my drawer at my desk, and also another bottle in my purse is going to be really nice too. I am, for those of you who might not know, I'm Donna Freeman's daughter, and you've heard her name a lot today. When Kelly said you don't say no to Donna Freeman, try having that as your mom, right? So you definitely don't say no. Beth Nickel laughed when Kelly said that and looked at Shelley and said, we sure tried. But yeah, I learned from Shelley's mistakes and decided not to go that route. So yes, mom asked and I say yes. My earliest memories of Kickapoo are actually riding with my dad to come pick her up from work. And for those of you who remember, and we would turn east on Westview to come to Kickapoo, there was just that kind of windy road. And so my dad would let me come over and sit on his lap, and he'd let me steer into picking Mom up. So those are the snapshots that are in my head of coming to Kickapoo. There's also a picture that circulates around occasionally. Me, I think I'm like 4 or 5, and I'm in a bikini, and I'm walking out the door with Mom, and I'm sure that's going to show up in my retirement. So it's going to be fun. But also my memories are with the other kids, Carol and Robert and the Birds, who aren't here right at this moment. The Sanders kids, Brock and Kelly and the Pidmans and the Greavies and the Googles and the Bebrocks and the Askins. And while the parents were coaching or working a ball game or whatever, we would steal away and kind of run around the school. And I'd go find somebody's keys that just happened to be sitting out on a table, and we'd go raid an PE equipment closet. And I'm sure Carol now, if she had kids raiding her PE closet, it would be like new. And I've been a supervisor at ball games now with little kids running around, and I'm just like, what are they doing? And I'm like, wait a minute, I was that kid. So those are my memories. Those are kind of the earliest ones of us all in the upstairs gym and climbing up the backside of the bleachers, getting inside the upper bleachers and climbing up them to watch what was going on. And we had a good time. Also, I would study yearbooks, and that's probably when I developed my first crush. And I'm going to admit it here in front of God and everybody, but it was Kelly Allison. But then his senior yearbook, his wife is the homecoming queen, and there's the picture that just devastated me, but also just made me think they were just a perfect couple. Because he's standing over the football, you know the picture I'm talking about, yeah. And he's giving her a little peck on the cheek and congratulating her for being the homecoming queen. You remember that too, right? Don't you? Yeah. Then there was Dan Wayner. I would think I had a crush on Dan Wayner, and then probably Brad Pitt, because why not, right? I probably got you from Brad. It was probably you, Greg.
That was me.
I just remember Tamara Sanders, most beautiful woman I think I'd ever seen as a little girl, and Debbie Gilmore. These were all people to me that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a chief. I could not wait to be a chief. Then I was finally a chief, and I got a bit of advice from my mother. And her sage advice, which I have now passed on to my children, is don't embarrass me, and I won't embarrass you. And that is what kept me out of the principal's office many a time. However, I did get in trouble one time, I will tell you that, at Horse Man, because a bunch of us had been playing in a basketball game, and there was always the balls that were sitting there in between the bleachers. And I was a burgeoning basketball player, and so I took a ball and was bouncing it and actually knocked it off my toe, and it rolled out onto the court in the middle of the ball game. Well, Mom was keeping score at that ball game, and so she didn't know that that was me that stopped a varsity boys basketball game action. And I'm sitting, I think, I had Mr. Blackwell's class at Horseman, and I'm called to the office. And at that time, they said, there's a phone call for you. And I'm thinking, 5th grade, I've got a phone call. And it was my mom. And I think I might have been grounded because Mr. Roadbury came in just cackling in his, wonderful way. Donna, did you know your daughter's the one that stopped the ball game last night? Coach, just you tell me that. Tell me not to mess with the basketballs anymore. But brown and gold is in our blood, and mine and my sister's blood. And it was a real privilege to be able to come here and teach when I decided that was what I wanted to do. And Mrs. Maggard was my mentor. And Pam hired me, I think it was 2 days before school started. And I was a little, as Phil Hawkins Smith would say, a little puckered. And Mrs. Maggard and Sandy Bouillon just said, honey, just stay one day ahead of the kids. They'll never know. And they were right. I just stayed one day ahead of the kids, and they never knew. We were privileged to be at Blue Ribbon School the second time while I was here. And then I became an administrator, and Mr. Block is the one who hired me for that job. I also had got married at that time, and then Dave, Doug retired, and Dave came along, and we had the building project. And a little anecdote from that, there was also a project going on at Hillcrest at the time. They were getting the science wing redone at their school as well. And we had been very, very, very specific with the architecture team about the bricks and the brick colors that we wanted used for the new science wing, and we wanted to complement the current, or the original building's brick. And when it showed up, and the designs came, and it was the brick was purchased and all. They had decided, in order to save money, that they would just go ahead and get the same palette that they were using at Hillcrest. Yeah, exactly. So Dave and I kind of dug our heels in, and I was kind of telling Mom, and she was like, "Oh, do it, yes, good job." So she was bragging on Dave and I to the retired teachers that we saved the colors of the school from being like, that school on the opposite side of town. But that's a fun one. Like I said, the blood is brown and gold, and it's brown and gold not only because of being here, because Mom was always here, but it's remained brown and gold because of the Delilah Roads, and because of the Horner Askins, and because of the Delby Rocks, and Mrs. Scott, and Mrs. Middleton, my beloved that I got to see every morning at the junior and senior year. It's brown and gold because of Coach Byrd, and it's brown and gold because of Mrs. Fritz, and shepherding me through applying, to colleges, and Schubel, and Coach Byrd, and Anita McCoy, Kissinger. And it's been a real privilege to be a chief, and it's even more of a privilege and an honor to see my kids. Sorry, you guys know, right? When I got married, and 6 months later, sometimes it happens that you become pregnant. We were in the house when we got married. We moved into my husband's house, which was on the east side of town by the Clydesdale farm on East Sunshine. And we had decided that we wanted to get a home that was ours, not the home that I had moved into. And so we were talking about where we wanted to go, and my husband, who was a Navy brat, and so he went to 10 schools in 12 years. He went to 3 different high schools. He didn't have what I had. And so we were talking about values of homes and where would be a good place to buy, and my mom just said, "No, stop, right there. My grandbabies will not be wearing red and blue." So Scott Leveland, I'm with you right there. And he laughed. And Shelley and I looked at him and went, she's serious. And he looked at her and Mom went, mm-hmm. And so, where do we live? Southwest Springfield. That's right. So you and Al know when Donna Freeman, you don't say no to Donna Freeman. So when I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a chief. And I got to be a chief. And I got to be a chief as a student, and I got to be a chief professionally. And but the greatest blessing is that in this spring, we've got another generation of chiefs in the Freeman family that's going to be graduating. CJ, Shelley's son, is a senior this year, and then my daughter's a sophomore, and then I have an 8th grader, and they're all going to be chiefs too, and their blood is brown and gold as well. So.
Yeah. Thank you.